Hello, my friend, and welcome to the podcast today. I am super excited about our guest today. If you are looking for weight loss support right now and you're a professional woman in the menopause transition or beyond, we are starting in September with Reset and Release, a group program to get you the weight loss that you've been wanting so that you can feel comfortable in your body again, so that your clothes fit again, all of these good things. And for the very first time, by popular request, we are going to have strength training. And I'm very excited to introduce you today to Missy Hughes, who is going to be doing the strength training in the program. So, Missy is a certified personal trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine and the Czech Institute. She's nutrition coach certified with Precision Nutrition and life coach certified with the Life Coach School. She has personally worked through all of the challenges that she teaches, and she is an expert on how movement can play in your weight loss journey, in your midlife journey, as you're kind of looking forward into what the next years will hold for you. Welcome, Missy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be a part of what you're creating.
So, we are talking today. We'll have a conversation. I'm going to ask her some questions. Actually, let me just tell you, stay to the end because we're going to talk about how you fit movement into your busy schedule. And I know that most of you listening are professional women, and that's something you really want to hear about. But first of all, let's talk a little about strength training and metabolism because it actually turns out to be a pretty powerful link. Can you tell us about that, Missy?
Absolutely. A lot of the changes in this midlife transition kind of take us by surprise because we find that what we used to do isn't working quite the same and how we feel isn't nearly the same. And metabolism has a lot to do with that. So what strength training does for metabolism is the process of while you're exercising, the breaking down of the muscle, and then while you're resting, the building back up of the muscle. All of those messages and all of the energy that takes helps to boost metabolism so that a body that is going through that breakdown and buildup is burning more calories, requiring more energy than a body that is at rest or has little movement.
Amazing. And so that does make strength training a really important part for weight loss, but also then for our journey to keep strong, right?
Absolutely. And that's part of two parts of this transition affect that. Number one, if we're not using our muscles, we start to lose muscle mass.
Hmm.
But also, if we start to lose muscle mass, we start to lose bone density. So the lack of estrogen affects both of those things. So
Hmm.
actively counteracting that by using those muscles and pulling on the bones to stimulate bone growth is so important during this time too. It's important during all parts of life. It's
Hmm.
important for our muscles to react with our bones, but this part is extremely specific and extremely important for women.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does this, tell us a little bit about how this affects our sleep, if you would.
So, for all of us out there, we're in different stages of this. Some of us are amazing sleepers and always have been, and you don't really feel a huge change. Some of us were terrible sleepers and continue to be terrible sleepers. I fall in the camp of I used to be like sleep was the easy part of my life. I found myself like going to sleep, staying to sleep, and waking up feeling rested. Well, this transition has totally flipped that on its head. And so I find myself going to sleep as normal, but waking up in the middle of the night. And then when I wake up in the middle of the night, and I know a lot of your listeners can relate, it's the mind, it's the churning of everything going on in the mind.
Hmm.
Um, some people have a hard time going to sleep because of that churning in the mind. And that, what exercise does is two things. When you are moving, it helps to process stress and kind of get your body pumping in its rhythms. So, what we know is, and I'll get a little sciencey for just a second, cross-body stabilization is important for stress management. So what I mean by that is if I'm standing on my right foot and I'm holding something with my left hand, I have to have the core strength in the middle to make that happen, right? If I lift one foot, then I'm going to fall over if I don't counteract that. So that's called cross-body stabilization. Well, that's a big part of the way our brains process stress. It's sort of a left, right, left, right, left, right pattern. So when we're moving, when we're exercising, we're working on that sort of pit pat, left, right processing. But we're also working on that cross body stabilization where you have to get unbalanced, keep your balance, and then move forward. It's great for just wearing out your body. We know this
Mhm.
from watching children in sports. Those kids sleep like a
Right.
dream. So
Yeah.
we continue that as we age, but also it's that ability to not have that ruminating mind because the stress level feels so much higher. So that's how exercise affects your sleep and your stress is it helps you process it, but also just using the energy in your body really helps sleep as well.
Very nice. I appreciate all that. Yeah, I was kind of surprised how much of that feeling of stress came with the menopause transition.
Me
At one
too.
point, I said to my a friend, My gift from menopause has been anxiety, and I don't know if it's truly anxiety, but just that feeling of being on edge often if I don't exercise. I assume it's the cortisol spikes, but it feels like anxiety, right? Just like,
Right. Right.
yeah.
I think it is the cortisol. I think it's the tendency for an increase in inflammation
Mhm.
that also stimulates more of that cortisol.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has been my gift as well. And it's so funny because we go from this place of like, sure, I've always been one to get nervous about things that are coming up. But the ruminating is the part that
Yeah.
feels new. Oh, you're doing it wrong. And let's talk about 800,000 different ways that come up at
Right,
2 in the
right.
morning. Um, and I think an important thing about managing stress and being able to process it is to say, "Oh, I see. I'm coming up with 800 ways I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
It's actually 2 in the morning. There's nothing I can do about any of those things in this
Yeah.
moment. I'll let that rest and I'll concentrate on my breathing instead."
Hmm. Yeah.
When your energy is expended, when you're able to manage that stress a little bit more, that is more accessible. Oh, I can do
Mhm.
that later. I'll refocus on my breathing or
Yeah.
counting backwards from 1,000.
Right, right.
Whatever it is that works for
Yeah.
you.
It's funny, we had a daughter that you had to run that girl.
Mhm.
We'd even say to each other, like in the winter time where it wasn't as easy just to kick the kids out into the yard to be like, did anyone run her today? Because she couldn't sleep. And I kind of feel that way about my week now. Like if I haven't been able to exercise much, somewhere in Friday during the day, I just feel on edge. It just comes on like someone walking into the room. But exercise really stops it. If I've had a good week of exercise or if I do something right then, it really does make a difference, I find.
I agree. And I think to that point, I think a lot of people have the misconception that you have to do long amounts of exercise or extremely intense exercise for that to help.
Right.
And even a little bit goes a long way to just calming your system down, calming your nervous system down by just moving the blood through it all. I used to think that if I wasn't in the gym for an hour, there was no point in even walking in.
Yeah.
And boy, is that not true. It's simply not true.
Well, what
So,
do you think? How much time do we need?
well, it's going to vary on the person because
Hmm.
where you start is going to affect how much you need. So, if I'm somebody who absolutely isn't moving at all,
Hmm.
Honestly, any amount of movement from there will make a difference. So if I decide to start to do like even a breathing exercise is moving
Hmm.
because you're moving the air through your body, you're being intentional about using your muscles of inspiration and expiration. So even 5 minutes of breathing will make a difference. That sounds insane, but
Wow.
it absolutely consistently 5 minutes a day can make a difference. I found I did a month-long strength training program
Hmm.
where I was lifting anywhere from like 5 to 15 pounds. I
Hmm.
did 15 minutes a day in a month, and I could not believe how much difference 15 minutes made from going from a period of being injured, kind of getting out of the routine due to excessive stiffness and pain and injury. All of the things kind of knocked me off the train.
Yeah.
But getting back into 15 minutes a day, and then I started to feel the difference of being stronger and feeling stronger. The idea that it's not just being stronger, I can lift something. It's
Yeah.
being able to say, "Oh, here's a box." And I lift it and I realize all of a sudden I kind of tossed it where I would have like grunted when I lifted it before.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is very confidence building also.
Yeah. I love that. I noticed that at some point in perimenopause, my cast iron pan got heavy. And I was like, wait a second, really am getting weak here.
Right.
So those functional things that you do at home, you want to be able to lift that box, and
Right.
I want to be able to lift my pan.
Right, exactly. And I want to be able to hold it strongly because my joint is strong, my
Yeah.
grip is strong, and the rest of me can balance it. I think this is an important thing that we'll go through in the program that we're doing
Hmm.
is doing the little things that do make a difference on your grip strength, on your mobility, on
Nice.
just making daily activities feel better.
Nice. Yeah. I'm really excited about this for people. Definitely. Now you said something about stiffness a little while ago. Can you tell us a little bit more about how stiffness and strength training and how those affect each other?
Absolutely. So, one of the repercussions of perimenopause and menopause is as the hormones change, there's a spike in inflammation. So, I used to be able to notice, like, if I would eat certain foods that I knew caused me inflammation, I'd feel pain in my squeezing my hand. And I
Mm.
also dislocated my ankle at one point, and so my ankle will feel very stiff. So I'll notice like if I eat that thing that sort of I know is as a trigger, I'll be like, "Oh, my hands or my ankle." I noticed at some point my hands were no matter what I was eating, my
Yeah.
hands were always had that stiffness. And
Mhm.
I thought, "What's happening here?"
Yeah.
This is the inflammation I usually get from a certain food that I'm getting from sort of all the foods. Where am I? And digging into it deeper, there is the spike of inflammation. So, where we find the inflammation is helpful. Just for those that are listening that don't know a lot necessarily about inflammation, it's great if you have an injury where say you hurt your
Hmm.
wrist will get hot. There are receptors that say, come in and help out. We need healing here. And that's
Yeah.
great. If that's happening all the time, then it's too much for the system.
Mhm.
So if you're waking up, and this was certainly my experience where, okay, I feel stiffness in my shoulder, and now I feel it in my hip, and now my low back hurts because I'm not moving my hips well, and now my wrist hurts because my shoulder is locked up. It is a chain reaction, and suddenly you feel like, well, I've gotten out of the habit of moving and now I don't want to get back in because every time I move, I feel like I'm hitting a brick wall.
Yeah.
When we start to move through that, the movement lubricates the joints. So you start to just get blood pumping through. You start to kind of move out some of that inflammation. I'll just call it gunk.
Mhm.
right? So the pumping of your blood, the pumping of your oxygen as you're breathing, all of those systems flowing through your body helps to just kind of get the joints moving. The more you move, the better it feels to move. So
Mhm.
the exercise and the first month of this program, we're going to do mobility focused movement
Mm.
the whole first 4 weeks. So we're not necessarily going to be lifting heavy things, but we're going to be taking our joints through their designed range of motion and get them really lubricated so that when we do start to lift weights, that it feels good and it'll just feel better and better as we get stronger and stronger.
That's amazing. It is nice to know that you can work through those things, right? You're not stuck with stiffness.
There's not a period on the end of that sentence,
Yeah.
right? It's not a done deal. It is not a death sentence or a stiff sentence, right? It is
Hmm.
absolutely, you get to change just as soon as you decide to change, right? Your body will react and respond to whatever movement you give it.
So we talked a little bit about mood. Is there anything else we should talk about mood and movement? We talked a little bit about kind of that anxiety and stress feeling, but anything else?
I think it goes back to the pumping that I've talked about a
Mhm.
little bit as your blood is flowing, as your sweat flows, as we get into it more. All of that, those kind of systems that process stress. And then as you start to kind of feel a little bit better, or even just you feel a little bit more neutral,
Hmm.
it makes it just a little bit easier to handle anything that's going on. When
Mm.
you're in pain, that pain sort of is like a blanket over everything else you do. You're trying to move through your day in pain and it hurts to move. And then you're trying to handle all the fires that are happening during your day, but you're
Yeah.
doing them from an under-resourced space. So once we start to feel a little bit better, it starts like a tumbleweed rolling. You've got the
Mhm.
snowball effect that it starts to just feel better and better. And all of a sudden you realize feeling good feels good. And that is such a mood booster.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Now, this does affect our self-image too, right? When we exercise.
Well, I think a lot of us feel you're like, wait a minute, whose body am I in? Right. And there are all sorts of challenges out there with self image. We've got society, what we think we should look like. We've got, what our family or people around us have kind of the feedback we've received over the years. We've got like where we like to be or where we think we should be. So all of this affects your self image. But when your body's changing in ways that you didn't sign up for and you don't necessarily enjoy,
Yeah.
it can really be a dampener on your self image. You can really say, wow, well, I feel sort of abandoned by the body I used to know.
Hmm.
A trap that I think we often do is we compare ourselves to our 10 years ago self, right? Well, I
Yeah.
used to be able to do this. Well, I used to be strong enough to hold my pan.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, this used to seem so easy. I used to be able to go run around and kick the soccer ball. And so we
Yeah.
think that somehow because things have changed, we've failed ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily true. Things are changing. We may not love the changes, but it
Mhm.
isn't a failure. It is a shift. And so that self image comes as you start to say, oh, I'm making a decision here for me. I'm deciding to partner with my body and boy, that feels better than being angry with it, right? Instead of having an
Yeah.
enemy in my body that I'm fighting with, now I have a partner that I'm wondering, oh, what would help you today? Oh, what do you need today? Oh, how would, wonder if we can take on a bigger challenge today. And then that partnership that connection takes us a lot farther than the fight ever could.
Nice.
So
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful, Missy. Thank you.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, most of the women listening are busy professionals of all sorts of different kinds of work. How, if they're feeling like, I don't know how I would fit this in, what would you say to them?
I would say start with the lowest amount that
Mm-hmm.
you can absolutely manage. The first thing is you find, where can I manage 5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And again, a lot of us think 5 minutes isn't enough. And when we think 5 minutes is enough, we do none. So it's
Right.
definitely not enough, right?
Yeah.
So being willing, the first step in it doesn't sound like the step that you want to take, which is like a lot of people will say, oh, we'll just do 5 minutes 5 times a day. You can, absolutely. But doing the first 5 minutes is the first step. So believing that anything you do will make a difference is really the kicker. Because once you get going, then that snowball starts. The hardest part is the actually getting going. And then getting going a little bit more becomes easier. You want to find 5 more minutes because you realize, oh my gosh, that 5 minutes really helped. What would
Yeah.
10 minutes do? Right? What would seven
Yeah.
minutes? What would 15 minutes do? So believing that the first 5 minutes is enough is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, as you're finding whatever you're doing now, what is your biggest challenge? Is it the stiffness? Then do whatever you're doing, address that challenge. So if
Yeah.
stiffness is what you're feeling, do mobility work where you're moving your joints through the motion, right? And then we build the strength from there. If if you feel pretty flexible, then maybe 5 minutes of strength training is, and you take a different two exercises every day, and then
Mm-hmm.
you move from there. So you're getting a full body workout as you go. Another opportunity could be finding times where you're doing things that you're not connected to. So, in our busy lifestyles, a lot of times we find this space where we think, oh, I just need a break. And
Yeah.
that break that we take might be doing something that we're disconnecting with. So
Mm,
maybe we're scrolling social media, but we have no
yeah.
idea what we just looked at. Golden Retriever reels are the best opportunity for doing that for me. I can get lost and like 15 minutes later, I don't even know. Like I've had some chuckles, but I have no idea what I've
Sure.
seen.
Yeah. And the time is sucked, right? It's just sucked right away.
Right. And
Yeah.
so in that instance, if you could do 5 minutes of breathing,
Mm-hmm.
that could resource you for doing 5 minutes of strength training.
Mm-hmm.
That could resource you for doing 5 minutes of mobility. So being connected to the time that you're allotting is the other
Oh,
thing that I would offer in finding the time in your busy schedule.
oh, I like that.
Yeah.
What kinds of things do you do? Maybe we can both share, like if it's a busy day, maybe you and I can share what kind of things we do. What do you like to do?
So as far as movement is
Yeah, on a super
concerned,
busy day.
yeah. So mobility is the
Mm-hmm.
first thing, and if I have nothing else, I will make sure that I activate. Um, for instance, my right hip tends to have the
Mm-hmm.
most pain. So I will do, while I'm brushing my teeth, I will lean one knee against the wall so that the other leg is really having to work to stabilize me.
Ah,
So that activates that right hip so that when I go and walk the dog, because I have to walk the dog, right?
yeah.
That's on a busy day. She definitely still needs to go out. That makes sure that I'm not going to be in pain while I'm walking her.
Mm.
So if I'm in a crazy day where I know I don't have time for specific strength training,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll make sure I do a little bit of activation to address the pain that I have.
Nice. I like that. I do a little bit of just jumping around sometimes because I used to work as a doctor in a clinic and in a nursing home. So it was the great thing about it was you were standing up and crouching down and walking around. I mean, it was active, and now I sit a lot in a chair. So I set timers to get up.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll do squats if I'm not going to do any strength training or push-ups.
Right.
And sometimes it's just movement. It's not every hour isn't strength, but sometimes I'll take my dog out and you know, we'll run up the stairs again or, something.
Right.
And I do like to just breathe sometimes and have my arms, swing my arms back and forth, that kind of crossing the midline thing again.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
let's just breathe and shake those arms back and forth and kind of it opens up my low back, but also I tell myself I'm crossing the midline. This is really helping my brain. So I
Right,
don't
right.
know.
That's great. So you're
Right?
connecting to that like partnership for your body there when you
Yes,
say that.
yes.
Yeah. There are two moves that are really powerful that we start to lose when we're not moving. So
Mm,
typically in our society, when we're not moving, we're sitting, right?
yeah.
So what gets really tight are the fronts of our hips, our hip flexors.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that helps with that, or two things really, are deep squats where we're opening up our hips and we're moving around in those deep
Mm,
squats. So,
nice.
at our ancestors' bodies, they were constantly doing things on the ground, doing things in the dirt. So they weren't just like, oof, bending over to do that. They were getting down in it, right? So
Yeah.
our bodies are designed for those hips to really open up. So getting in that position, working down into that position, it's something I've been working on. The second thing that's so powerful, this is like the sneakiest, amazing thing ever,
Mm-hmm.
is if you have the opportunity to hang from a bar or to
Mm.
just like grab the top of a door jamb and let your body kind of sink down.
Ah,
The door jambs for me are very far away. So I actually do have a ladder and it's near my washing machine. So I'll
okay.
go, if I take a load down, I'll grab the bar and hang for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, put a load in, hang a little bit more. And
Nice.
that opens it. It's incredible. It aligns your spine.
Mm-hmm.
It opens up your shoulders. It opens up your hips. It increases your
Ooh,
grip strength. It's amazing in so many ways. So I should
wow.
say on those really busy days, the squats and the hanging are something I try to do as well because they just are like major impact things.
Cool. I want to do those now.
Yeah.
That's such a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah, the hanging is incredible in ways you would never, but we're designed to do that, right?
Right, right.
How much time do we spend now with our arms overhead?
Oh
Our daily
gosh.
lives don't require it, right? Maybe
Yeah,
we
you're
put something
right.
on a shelf. Maybe we put on deodorant. It's like
Right.
ingredients aren't required very much.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
that's so
impactful.
true.
Yeah,
Wow. Thank you so much for all of this. You've just given us so much gold today. I'm super excited about you and I working together with this small group program. It's for people who are looking for support right now. You're going to get a lot of time with Missy and me. I just talked to someone today actually who just said, "Oh, I just feel like this is just going to be a warm, great place to get all this done." And that's what we're hoping for, right? You and I are hoping to make that the
absolutely.
experience.
Absolutely. I think that wherever you are, it's easy to say when you don't like where you're starting out, it's easy to feel sort of a sense of rejection. I reject where I am right now in this change. I reject what's happening to my body. And so, what I think you and I very clearly want to do together is bring that back into let's feel at home. Let's feel loved. Let's feel like we're finding solutions in that partnership. I think it's amazing.
Awesome. I will let people know there. If you go to the website right now, this is August, end of August 2025. We are starting in September. So if you want to find out more information, if you go to vibrant-md.com, you can find out more about the program there and ways to sign up to work with the two of us. And Missy, is there any place that people can find you online? We will have show notes for with your social media handles. If there's someone wants to connect with you in person or reach out, what's probably the best place?
A lot of people are on social media. So I'm on Instagram, Missy Bennett Hughes, and Facebook, Missy Bennett Hughes. So those are the easiest ways to find out and also just find fun little tips that you can use. You can message me on either of those places.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here again. Just really appreciate you coming on and sharing all this with our audience today.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hello, this is Dr. Heather Awad. If you are a professional woman and looking for support right now to lose weight for the last time, I invite you to join us at Reset and Release. Here you can lose the weight without counting calories or sacrificing your lifestyle. Weight loss seems hard, but it's not your fault. You've counted the calories, you've tried to do everything right, but no one told you what to do when your hormones rewrote the rules. That's where Reset and Release comes in. It's a midlife solution rooted in science, support, and sanity. You don't need willpower. You won't be left hungry. These are just real strategies for real life. So Reset and Release will help you lose the weight that perimenopause and menopause won't let go. It's a 4-month group experience for smart, capable women ready to lose the stubborn weight of the menopause transition without counting calories or sacrificing your lifestyle. This is a high-touch, small group program, and if you're interested, please come to my website, heatherawadmd.com, and join us at the beginning of September for this transformative experience.